Hi everybody and welcome to The Doomed, a brand new, recently released Skirmish wargame, where warbands fight each other and unspeakable monster horrors in a post-apocalyptic world ruined by the company. The game works with 2 players, it also has a solo mode, and then it has one basic stat for everybody, warbands and monsters, and that stat is quality. And you will do everything with quality: move, shoot, even survive. All the actions you can do are exactly the same for players as well as monsters. The matches will take somewhere around 30 minutes and they take place on a battlefield 2 or 3 feet wide, so relatively small battlefields but with dense terrain. One of my favorite aspects about this game is that it encourages you to build your own warbands and monsters. Every warband of the 4 available and all the monsters in this game have a short description and inspiration for how they look and how they behave, and then your imagination is the limit. So kit bash or use the models you already have, everything is possible in this game. There are campaign rules and a lot of scenarios in this game where you face horrors, which is monsters, or other warbands in conflicts, and you can mix these two as well. But first you have to build your warband, and you begin with a leader and 20 renown points. You can earn renown points during your matches, and then your warband can evolve. But first you have to hire members and weapons. And this is my warband, the Servants of Purity. And the leader here is Judge Damiel. He has a quality of 3, he's tough, and he's armed with a Thundergun and a blade. And with him he has his trusty champion Sothar with a quality of 4. He is fierce, he is armed with a repeater, and he also has a shield. Then we have Eilik. He is a zealot. He has a quality of 5. He's a fanatic, and he is armed with a relic blade. Next up, the legionnaire Franz, also with a quality of 5. Here he is. He is loyal, and he is armed with a blaster. And the final member of the warband is the Herald Sigmund. He has the ability Inspire, and he is armed with a polearm, and he has a quality of 5. This warband is now worth 20 renown points. In this first match, the warband goes up against the Devourer here. The Devourer is fierce, has a quality of 3, and it's armed with very dangerous Reaper claws. It's also able to shoot digestive acid, and it also has minions, the Scavengers here, that will be able to enter the match during the game. And the mission is simple enough. Destroy the Devourer and you win, and if you don't, you lose. It's not so easy though, because the Devourer has 3 nexus stashes here made of bones and gore, and it will feed on these nexus stashes in the game. So you have to destroy each nexus before the warband is able to kill the Devourer. The Devourer can be wounded, go down and hurt, but it will not die before every nexus is destroyed. The Devourer, as well as some of the other warband members, have special abilities, but we'll get back to those and other rules while we play. The Devourer is already deployed in the middle of the battlefield, and the warband members will deploy one by one at the edge of the battlefield. And with all that being said, now let's get started. And with only one warband in this match, there is no need to roll off. The Servants of Purity will begin. And Eilik the Zealot is the first one to enter the battlefield, and he will move in one straight line to this point. The first move in each turn is free, but if you move any further, you have to pass a quality test. And in this case, with a quality of 5, he's fine and he can make his second move action. All units in the game have 3 possible actions, so Eilik has 1 more and he will fight the Nexus with his relic blade. He rolls 3 dice for the blade, again against a quality of 5, and he will miss all of them. And then he is exhausted. And then play passes to the enemy, and the Devourer is the only one on the battlefield. And it will attack or move against the closest enemy unit, in this case Eilig. And movement is free, so you can move in straight lines as you see here, and then the second move action will be around an obstacle, in this case the ruined building. And the Devourer will have one final action, and it will shoot its digestive acid against Eilig. And the acid is 1 die, and with a quality of 3, it will hit. The acid does 3 damage, so Eilig will have to make 3 save rolls, and he actually makes 2 of them, but he fails 1. So he will be wounded, and he will roll on the shock table. If you roll doubles on the shock table, the unit is immediately taken out. But with a roll of 9 here, Eilig will have 1 free move, but he is wounded and he will go down anyway. So he will crawl around the corner out of line of sight of the Devourer, and then he is down. And it also marks the end of the Devourer's turn. When it shoots, it has the advanced ability, so it will be able to move against the enemy, and then it will be exhausted. So next up, Judge Damiel himself. He enters the battlefield here, and from this position he has line of sight to the Devourer, so he will begin with his Thundergun. You can only shoot once in each turn, and he will have to roll a quality test of 3, and with a 6, it's a clear hit. The Thundergun does 3 points of damage, so the Devourer must make 3 saves, but it will make each and every one of them, and then it will turn around because now it's angry. So the judge hit with his first shot, but he did not wound the Devourer. His next action will be to move, and his third action will be a move as well. But since it's the second move action, he will have to pass a quality test now. And he has a quality of 3, but he fails. And that means he will not be able to make his final move action. He is now exhausted. Next up, Sothar the champion. He makes a move action, and he will attempt a second move action. He has a quality of 4, so he is good. He will move again, and that will take him right up to the nexus. And he will fire his repeater. He will need a 4 to hit, but he misses the target. No hits and no nexus destroyed. Too bad for the Warband. What will they do now? France, the legionnaire, moves up next to the judge, and that's a wise move, because when he can see his leader, he will shoot with a quality of 3 instead of 5. And he hits with one of his blaster shots. The blaster does 1 point of damage, so the Devourer will have to save again, and this time it fails. So now the Devourer is wounded, and it will also roll on the shock table. And a roll of 11. So if the Devourer had an ally on the battlefield and it could see that ally, it would have been able to make a free move. But unfortunately it's alone, so it will only be wounded and go down. Nice shot by France. But he still has 1 action left, so he will try to move to this position. And he will pass. No, he will not pass his quality test. He had a +1 modifier because he can see the leader. So remember again, we only move in straight lines, around obstacles, or on top of obstacles. So finally, Sigmund the Herald moves next to Judge Damiel, and he will move again, and he will fail. He needs a 4, and in his third and final attempt, he will be able to move. Remember, he has a quality of 5, but when he can see the leader, he will need a 4 instead. And he has the ability Inspire. So an ally he can see gets a free recovery or fight action at the end of his turn. So Eilig rolls against his quality, but he will need a 5, so he has not recovered. And that will be the end of the first round. All units on the battlefield are exhausted. And our Warband was not able to take out any of the Devourer's Nexus stashes, but the Devourer is down. So at the end of the first round, we will roll for a response. If the monster is not defeated, something will happen, and a roll of 5 on the Devourer's response table is not possible at the moment, so it will be translated into a roll of 2, and so the Devourer will have 2 scavengers on the board. and they will be placed randomly along the board edges. And I will do that off screen, and then we'll go to round 2. So one scavenger is deployed here at the bottom of the battlefield and the other one here in the upper right corner. And then all units are readied and they can activate again. And the warband will begin. And this time the champion is up first. He will fire his repeater against the nexus and he will hit. One shot does 2 points of damage, and the nexus has a defense quality of 4. So it will be wounded, and it's a nexus stash, so it cannot really be wounded. Instead, it will immediately be destroyed. And that will trigger a nexus effect. The Devourer is down, but it will immediately attempt a recovery. And it's good. And next up, it will have a free move against the unit who destroyed the nexus, in this case, Sothar. So it will jump on top of the building, which is the move closest to Sothar, and if it was able to see him, it could also have shot against him. But it's not able to see him, so Sothar will continue his turn, and for his second action, he will make a free move in a straight line, and it will move him all the way into base contact with the second nexus, and he will use his third action to attempt a fight. All units can fight using 1 die, even though they are not armed with any melee weapon, and he is fierce, so he can reroll his fight attempt. So he needs a 4, and he failed both tries. So instead, the Devourer is up next, and it can see an enemy unit, in this case, the Herald. So it will shoot its acid against him, but fail. It will again need a roll of 3. So it can only shoot once per turn, so instead it will move down the building and be in base contact with the Herald. And it will use the third action to attack. And it will attack with Reaper Claws. 2 dice, each of them doing 2 points of damage. And it will hit with 1 of the claws. So with 2 damage, Sigmund will have to roll 2 5s or more to block the attack. Ooh, close, but not close enough. He is wounded, and he will roll on the shock table. It doesn't really matter if you take 1 or 10 wounds, you will still only roll 1 time on the shock table. And with a roll of 6, Sigmund will panic, which is no wonder, and he will attack the nearest unit, and that is, of course, the Devourer. So he will swing his polearm against the Devourer. He will roll 1 die, and he will need a 5, and he fails. He is in panic, after all. But he could have done a lot of damage, because the polearm is a heavy weapon, so it will do double damage when the unit has not moved before the attack. Now the judge turns around and turns his attention to the Scavenger. He will fire his Thundergun and he will hit. And the Thundergun does 3 points of damage, so 3 saves. And the Scavenger will have to roll 5 or more. It will fail 2 saves, but it has the ability Nimble, so it will be able to re-roll the saves. But it fails nonetheless, and the roll on the shock table is an 8. So it has a chance to fight back, but it has no ranged weapons, and the judge is too far away for a close combat attack. So the Scavenger is down. Judge Damiel now has 2 actions left, but he can't shoot anymore, only 1 shot per turn. Instead, he will end his turn, and at the end he can point out an enemy, and then a friendly unit can make a free attack, so the judge has someone else to do the dirty work for him. And he will command the Legionnaire to shoot against the Scavenger, and he shoots with a quality of 3 because he's loyal and he can see the judge, and the Scavenger is taken out. And the next Scavenger activates, and it will move a free move and then 2 further moves, and it will roll and pass the rolls. It has the Nimble ability, so it can re-roll moves and all the way into base contact with the champion. Franz is up next in his own turn now, and he will aim at the Nexus, and he will fire his blaster 2 shots. Remember, he will hit with a quality of 3 because of the judge, and the nexus will fail one save roll. So with a precision shot with his blaster, Franz takes out the nexus, and that will immediately trigger a nexus effect. From now on, the Devourer is even more annoyed, and from now on, its claws will be twice as dangerous when it attacks. Franz then has a move action, and he will move to his fallen comrade Eilik, and he will attempt to recover Eilik and help him up. And with a quality of 5, he fails that attempt. Eilik is still down. And the same goes for Sigmund. He's also down. He has 1 recovery attempt. He will need a 5. And he too will stay down. And there are no further enemy units, so the Servants of Purity will continue the activation, and Eilik now has a chance to recover himself. And he has base contact with a friendly unit, then he will need a 4 instead of a 5. But, well, he rolled a 5 anyway, and he has now recovered. So he will be able to do 2 more actions this turn. And his first action is to move, and he will move into base contact with the Devourer, and he will attack with his relic blade. And from this position, he can see the judge, so he will hit with a quality of 3. And so he does. All his 3 attacks with the blade will hit, and the Devourer will fail 1 save roll. So it's down. And, of course, it will immediately roll on the shock table. And it's a 9. So the Devourer is able to make a free move. But the question is, will it make a free move? Because it's already in base contact with an enemy. So it will go down and stay where it is, close to the 2 servants. And that was the final turn of this round. All units are now exhausted. The Servants of Purity managed to take out 1 more nexus, and the Devourer is down. But let's see what will happen when there is a response, and it's a 5. And again, since the Devourer is down, 5 is not possible. It will be changed into a 2, and 2 more scavengers, not 3, 2 more scavengers will enter the board. Let's go to round number 3. And the 2 newly deployed scavengers both enter the battlefield from the right side. Question is, will they be able to help the Devourer? The champion Sothar will activate first, and he can attack the scavenger or the nexus, and he will decide to attack the nexus. He fails first, but he has the fierce ability and can reroll, and in his rerolled attempt, he will hit the nexus. And the nexus will fail a save roll, so the 3rd and final nexus is now destroyed. And that triggers the 3rd and final nexus effect. The Devourer will be extremely angry. First, a free recovery, and it is successful. It will jump up in a rage, and then it will be able to have a free shot against every enemy in line of sight. But sadly for the Devourer, it is in base contact with Eilik, and then it's not possible to make any shoot attacks. So instead, Sothar will continue his turn. First, he will try to move away, and even though it's his first move action, he will still have to pass a quality test because he's in base contact with an enemy. So he gives up moving away, and instead he attacks with his bare hands, and he will hit, and the scavenger will fail the save roll. So it is wounded and will roll on the shock table. A result of 6, it's a panic attack. So the scavenger will attack the nearest target. Of course, it's the champion, and it will try to bite him with 2 bite attacks. It has a quality of 5. So let's see. And with double 1, it will bite everything else but Sothar, and then it will go down. And now the Devourer cannot control its anger anymore. It will activate, and it is in base contact, and that means it will be able to attack with the claws. And it will need a 3, so 2 out of the 4 possible claw attacks will hit. Each of them will do 2 damage, and poor Eilik is not able to save that devastating attack. He will roll on the shock table, and a result of 7 is that he will just go down without any further effects. But even though he is down, the Devourer will not stop. It's still in base contact with him, so it will do the second fight action of its turn. And once again, the claws will hit. And, well, maybe he has a chance to save with these 2 dice. No, not enough. He would have needed 5s, and now he will be taken out as the first unit in this fight. First casualty, but the Devourer is not finished yet. Its third and final action will be an acid shoot attack against the downed Sigmund. And again, it has a quality of 3, and it will hit, and the acid here will do 3 damage. So, well, Sigmund has no chance, and since he's already down, he cannot be further wounded or roll the shock table. He will be immediately taken out. Second casualty. And after a shot, the Devourer will advance, and that means it will take up this position right in the middle of the battlefield. With 2 loyal soldiers down, the judge will have to take matters into his own hand. He will fire his Thundergun at the Devourer. He will need a 3, and he rolls a 6. So he will hit with 3 attacks, and the Devourer will not make all 3 saves. It will fail 1, so it's forced to roll on the shock table. And it's a roll of 10, and that means perform a free attack as a last gasp before you go down. And it will, of course, spit its acid against the judge. Or will it? No, it will target the judge. It's out for revenge. But it will fail. The attack will not hit. So it will go down now, and the judge will continue his turn. He has 2 actions left. It's now or never for the Servants of Purity. He will make his second action. It's a move action, and that will take him into base contact with the Devourer. And he has 1 attack with his blade, and he will hit. He is very, very reliable with his weaponry, and the Devourer must defend with rolls of 3, and it fails them both. The judge will raise his blade and pierce the heart of the Devourer, taking out this horror once and for all. The judge and his warband have cleansed the world from the Devourer, and they stand victorious on the battlefield. But it was not a victory without consequences. We will have to see what happens to the members of the servants who were taken out. And first, Eilik, with a roll of 4, he's injured. So if he is taken out in the next battle, he will be killed for good. But he will be able to participate. And then Sigmund. What will happen to him? It's a roll of 6. He is scarred. So, well, he's injured on the surface, but he will be able to fight another day. The Servants of Purity and Judge Damiel have earned 3 renown points in this battle by completing their objectives, and they will now be able to upgrade the Warband and buy better equipment. They also have access to the rewards from this particular Devourer mission, and they will also earn prestige and continue their fight in this apocalyptic doomed world. Thanks a lot for watching this battle report. Check out the Doomed gamebook from Osprey Games, and I hope you'll join me for future bad rips.